Gonna be doing a little quick thing to show you how to attach clothing to avatars, at least the proper way with Blender. First things first is you're gonna import your actual avatar, and then you're gonna be importing the clothing that you want to attach to the avatar. So here I have Armature 0, or just Armature for the avatar, Armature 1 for the clothing. First things first is we're going to select the orange box here, Object Properties, go to Relations, and click and drag your first armature into there. I'm going to do that for both sets of clothing. In my case, you do this to everything. Then you're going to click on each of the clothing, go to the wrench tab here, which is just modifier properties, and you'll do the same thing here. You'll drag this here, drag this here, go to my top, drag this here, drag this here, and you should be done. You just, to test it out, just disable your other armature here, click on the avatar's armature, go to pose mode, just click on like your spine or something and go to rotate and just move it around. If the clothing moves with the avatar, everything's working as intended. Move the legs around. Oh, something's wrong. So this is a unique case. Sometimes how to fix it is you go to click on one of the clothing that's not working properly and go to object data property. So what sometimes happens with avatars, if this is the happens to you, these vertex groups are not the same name as your bones. See how these have r dot hip and this has r underscore hip. All you do is just double click it and make sure it's identical name to your bone names. And then go to here, because this also had an issue here too. Yeah, shoulders. Needs to be dot shoulders. Test it out again by just click on the avatar, go back to pose mode, and then we'll try to rotate it. Now it's working properly. Everything's moving fine. Now to export, you just go to object mode. You can delete armature 1 because you don't want that to accidentally slip into your project. Just click delete hierarchy. Go to file, export, go down to armature, and uncheck add leaf bones. What that does is that adds an extra bone at the end of every single bone that exists. It's not desirable for this situation, so you just turn that off. Then you click export. You're adding clothing to your avatar, and you realize that those clothes comes with additional bones. Now normally that's not a part of the plan when you're attaching avatar clothing. So normally it's super simple. You just parent it through the relations tab, and you add the armature to the modifier. But now what you gotta do is you gotta select the extra armature, so our hoodie's armature. You hold control and you click on your avatar's other armature. Now you hit Control J, which will merge them into one armature. And what will happen is you will then see you have an extra armature here, and that's totally okay, because what it's doing is there are more bones here that are not normally there, so it will leave them here just in case. So then what we do is you click your armature, you click object mode and go to edit. Then you want to select the first bone, so I'm going to hold Z and go to wireframe. You want to select the first bone, you go to bone properties and scroll down, you'll see relations. Click here, and for this, because this is attached to the chest, you want to reparent it back to your normal chest. I'm gonna click the other one, enter to the chest, and then now I'm done. So while still in edit mode, I'm going to drop down all the other bones that are in this chain. I'm going to click the top one, hold shift, click the bottom row, move my mouse to the void, hit delete, and select bones. And that'll get rid of all of the extra bones and stuff that you don't need. To make sure things are still working, you obviously click on the armature, go to pose mode, and you can pose them to make sure that they're still moving. In my case, they are still moving, so they are working properly. And to make sure the sweater is working, you just click on your arm and move your arm around. If it's working, your clothes will move with you. And then you export it as normal by disabling leaf bones and exporting the FBX to wherever your project is. Now that you got your avatar fully set up in Blender and you exported it to Unity, there's a few more things you have to do before your avatar is fully ready to be used in VRChat. The first thing you have to do is you select the FBX. You have to enable read-write right here, read-write enabled, turn that on. Then you're going to go to Legacy Bun-Shaped Normals, turn that on, and you hit Apply. Unity will do its thing, and then once it's done, you can continue working on it. Next thing you want to do is you want to go to Animation, you want to go to Rig, and you want to set its animation type from Generic to Humanoid, and then you hit Apply. Once you've hit Apply, in my case, I already had an avatar that had the right armature. My brain died for a second, and I just copied that. But what it would look like if you go to do that is you go to configure, then it'll put your avatar in this state. So here you want to make sure all of your bones are set properly. Unity is pretty good, but is never ever perfect. So whenever you're setting up an FBX Unity, you want to always double check that everything is set properly. So make sure hips is hips, spine is spine, chest is chest. Sometimes chest could also be upper chest, as long as it follows a line. So you go from your hips, it goes next bone up, spine, next bone up, chest, and anything else you can ignore. If your avatar does have an upper chest, like there's another bone here that is gray, it's optional, but you should set that if it does have that bone, or else your IK might be a little wonky. Your hands, usually it's pretty good at getting. I've never had it get hands wrong. But the next thing that's definitely always gets wrong is head. Unity likes to set the eyes to be something that is not eye, and it likes to set a jaw. In normal cases, you want to make sure jaw is set to nothing, so all you do is click the little dot here, set to none. Then you can check your hands, make sure it has your hands set properly. This is how a volley hand usually looks like. It's just a thumb and two fingers. Once you're done, you hit apply. You hit done. You go to your assets, you drag it into your hierarchy here. It should spawn in the middle here. I'm going to turn this one off. And then if everything is done right, it should automatically have an animator on here. If you already have an avatar that is pre-set up, and you want half of your work to be not done manually, I recommend getting Pumpkin Tools. Pumpkin Tools is like godsend for doing repeat stuff. You can get Pumpkin Tools off of Google. They also have a Creative Companion repo, so all you have to do is you add it to your repo, packages, then you add it to your repo. You can also click a link that they have on their GitHub, and it will automatically open this up for you, and you just apply it. Then you add it to your project. Once you have Pumpkin Tools installed, you go to Tools, Pumpkin, Avatar Tools, and you can just drag this little window over here. You will drag your new avatar into the top slot. You'll drag your old avatar into the bottom slot. You will then checkbox whatever suits you. I'm going to be copying the mesh renders and the skin mesh renders, all the materials and stuff, so I don't have to do them again. And all you have to do is click copy selected. And you'll see that everything here has been set up properly. Some values may need to be tweaked depending on the avatars. Some copy over perfectly, some might still require some tweaking. That's handled on an avatar to avatar basis. I can just go here, see these all set up properly. And that's like the bulk of the work done. Hope this tutorial helped anybody, even one person. That'd be pretty sick. And goodbye.